Hi everyone, this is Rachel from StudioUs with another at-home drawing lesson. We're finishing up our last set of May the 4th celebration drawings with this adorable little BB-8. So go ahead and grab your supplies and we'll get started. To start out, you'll need a drawing pencil, a Sharpie, and a large eraser, as well as a blank piece of paper. First things first, we're going to find about the horizontal middle of our paper, and that will mark out the top of our circle for the bottom of BB-8. From there, I'm going to mark out about the bottom of the circle based on how far I see it coming in from the sides. And I'm going to use my pencil to measure the height of that circle, turn it sideways, and then mark it out so I know how wide it should be. Because we know that circles are as tall as they are wide, so we want to make sure those are the same measurements. Once I've got those marked out, I can start sketching in my circle. I'm going to kind of dot around and make sure I get that curve just where I like it, and then sketch it in. So I give myself a few little guide dots, and then once I've got it rounded out just how I like it, I draw in my final line. Alright, that's a pretty good looking circle. Looking at the head that we're adding, I want it to kind of tip up a little bit. So I'm going to mark where I see either of those edges crossing over the line. The one on the right should be a little higher, the one on the left should be a little lower. And then from there, I mark out my sides and my top and just curve it around, kind of like it was half of a circle that curves a little at the bottom. Alright, we've got our BB-8 head in. I'm going to erase the line where the circle overlaps with the head so that it looks like the head is sitting on top of that circle body. After that, imagining a line going up through the center of BB-8 since he's tipped to the left a little bit. I'm going to draw in my shorter antenna, and then to the right of that, maybe half an inch, I'm going to draw in the longer antenna. And these are just little curved lines that come up. We can also draw in our circular pattern shapes for the body of BB-8. So here I'm looking closely at where they start and where they end, and how far down the side of that circle they go. So that top one I marked where it started, where it hit the head, and then curved it around. This one I'm looking at where it starts, where it ends, and how far into the body it goes. So it's almost a complete circle, and just a little bit goes off the edge where we can't see it. Giving that flat curve at the bottom. And then for the one on the side, marking where it starts, how far down the circle it goes, and looking closely at how close it gets to that other large circle that we drew in. So we just want a little gap, maybe about 1 inch wide. We can also go ahead and get in our background line. So this is just a little curve on either side, starting higher and then curving down toward the sides. Next, we're going to start getting in BB-8's eyes. So we've got one larger circle right about in the middle of his head. Once I've got the outside circle, I can draw the inside circle for that. And then lower and to the right, we've got another circle that's a little bit smaller. And that one's got a circle inside of it as well. So I'll draw the outside circle first, making sure it's smaller than the first eye we drew. And then we'll add the inside circle roughly inside of that with just a little gap in between. Alright, we're going to do 2 curved lines at the top of his head. One lower, coming almost down toward the eye, and then one higher, just going around the edges of the antennas. And little lines starting straight in the center and then angling out to set up the pattern for that panel at the top of BB-8's head. We can also get the lines connecting those circle patterns on BB-8's body. Getting into some of the details, we're going to add small circles on either side of the lines that connect those large circle panels. And we can add some small lines on the antennas to add a little pattern there. Moving into the face, we've got 2 curved lines coming in toward his main eye, and going all the way out to the side of the head. And we're starting to get some of these little curved, almost rectangular patterns coming off of the large circle shapes. So look closely where these land. We can kind of figure out some are in the middle, some are coming off the side. That one's between 2 sets of the little circles. After that, we've got some details along the bottom of BB-8's face. So these are just kind of curvy rectangles. So the flat is top, and the top is flat, and the sides curve out a little bit. And finally, we're adding these complicated kind of gear looking patterns inside those large circles. So it's almost like if you drew a circle inside of it and then cut little notches into it. So to draw these in, I curve my line around, bring my lines in to make a little notch, and then curve it around some more. So just take your time on these, try to keep them looking kind of even within the circle shapes, and keep those outside edges nice and round. We've got a couple small rectangles inside our little gear patterns on the body. And we have a few details going around those eyes. So on the smaller eye, we've got a couple lines that kind of scoop around. So it goes around the outside edge down to the bottom of the face, curves around the larger eye, and then goes back down toward the bottom of the face again. You can see it kind of outlining that smaller eye. And then for the top piece, we've just got an arch coming up from the bottom, up around the outside of the eye, and down to connect to that smaller outline piece. And that does it for our drawing. We can go ahead and grab our Sharpie marker and very carefully outline all of our pencil lines on BB-8. Be especially careful with those small details and make sure that your Sharpie lines don't accidentally run together. Now that we're all set with our Sharpie lines, we'll grab our eraser, go over everything, clear off all those extra pencil lines, and we're set to color. So I'm going to start with my lightest blue, carefully go around the outside edges of BB-8 and along the top of our little sand pile there, and then fill in the rest of our background. Once the blue is all done, you can grab a beige color, the lightest brown you've got, and we're just going to get that lightest little highlight on top of the sand. Following that, I'm going to take a tan color, a little bit darker than the beige, outline my edges for my highlights and anywhere that touches BB-8, and then fill in the rest of that sand, that darker tan color. After that, I'm going to use my light gray. This is the dolphin gray that I have. If you don't have a dolphin gray, if you've just got a regular gray, that'll work too. We can always layer it up. And anything that's gray on BB-8, I'm going to color in. So I'm looking for all of the little shadows, kind of going around his head. And any of the lighter gray antennas. Now I'm going to take my normal gray, so my darker gray, and I'm going to fill in the darker gray areas. So anywhere that's looking particularly dark with the gray color, I'm going to fill in there. And I'm going to take my time and kind of layer this up a little more thick so that it shows up really dark compared to that lighter gray. If you're just working with one gray marker, you can go over it and then let it dry a little bit and give it a second coat. That'll make it even darker. Get all of our little bolts. And that'll take care of our grays. I'm going to start working on the oranges, so I'm going to grab an orange and a golden orange. And with the lighter color, so the golden orange, I'm going to put just the little highlights wherever I see them on the orange spots. After that, I'll take my regular orange and color in all the orange areas on BB-8. I'm going to take a brown color and outline the shadow along the bottom of BB-8. I notice that it goes all the way down to the bottom of the paper. And then taking my time, I'm going to color in that shadow over the tan so we get a nice dark spot right under BB-8 so it looks like he's touching the sand. To finish things out, I'm going to take a darker brown color. In this case, I'm using, I think, mahogany or a tan, but any brown will do. I'm going to go over the orange spots where I see a shadow and just add those shadows over the orange. The brown will mix with the orange and make it kind of blend together. Couple more steps for the black. I'm going to outline the white spots in his eyes and then color the rest in black. And finally, we're going to take an electric blue, or we can just layer a second layer of light blue and get the shadow in the sky. And that will do it for our BB-8. I hope you guys had fun with our Star Wars series. May the 4th be with you, and we'll see you for the next one.